Welcome to the session on Oracle Retail Merchandising Inventory Management Product Overview. The inventory management functionality is the core of the merchandise application. It is tracked in two ways, perpetually and financially. Perpetual inventory refers to the number of units in a store or warehouse. Financial inventory is the value of the inventory and is summarized in the stock ledger. Both perpetual and financial inventory are updated by many different functions within merchandising, such as receipts, price changes, inventory adjustments, and return to vendors. This session will focus on perpetual inventory. Purchase order receipts are typically sent to merchandising from an external warehouse or store system, although POs can be received online in merchandising as well. All POs in merchandising are received against a shipment, which can be based on a receipt from an ASN vendor or can be created automatically at the time of the receipt. Purchase orders update many values in merchandising, including order receipt quantity, open to buy, stock on hand, and weighted average cost, also known as WAC. Additionally, the transaction level data is written to the stock ledger. Receipt adjustments are adjustments made to the quantity or cost of a received PO shipment. Receipt adjustments can be made in several different ways. Quantity adjustments are usually made in the store or warehouse where the receipt occurred to ensure inventory accuracy between systems. However, in some cases, adjustments cannot be made in the source system, usually because the inventory has already been shipped out or sold. In these cases, adjustments may occur in the invoice matching process or in the merchandising inventory screens. Quantity adjustments made in the merchandising or invoice matching are integrated back to the store to keep inventory in alignment. Receipt cost adjustments usually occur as a part of inventory matching when a cost discrepancy is uncovered. Adjustments can be made via invoice matching or merchandising to update the cost. Similar to PO receipts, receiver adjustments update PO receipt quantity, stock on hand, weighted average cost, stock level as appropriate. Receipt cost adjustments that impact weighted average cost can be difficult to make correctly, especially if the adjustment is being made to a location where goods have already been allocated or have already been sold. Because of this, merchandising supports two methods to calculate WAC and any potential write-off necessary when inventory is no longer in location. Standard and FIFO methods. The standard method calculates RCAs based on the stock on hand. If the stock on hand is less than the receipt quantity, then the WAC will be set to the receiver cost adjustments cost. The FIFO method distributes the stock on hand across receipts and determines if the WAC should be adjusted or if a write-off transaction should be booked to the GL. To define if enough inventory is available to support the RCA, merchandising uses the FIFO inventory method and receipt date. A transfer is any internal movement of stock from one location to another location, where a location can either be a store or a warehouse. A transfer can be created for either unavailable or available inventory. If a transfer of unavailable inventory is made, then when an item is added to the transfer, the item status of the item must also be selected. The same item can be added to the transfer multiple times under different inventory statuses, if they exist. For example, if an item is held in both a damaged and under repair status in a location, both can be added to the transfer. Upcharges are used to assign costs associated with transferring goods from one location to another. Upcharges are defined at the item level and can be defaulted to a transfer should retailers choose to apply them. Merchandising supports multiple different types of transfers. The type of transfer often indicates the source or how the transfer was created and may also result in slightly different behavior when it is shipped or received. The most basic type of transfer is a manual requisition. There are several other transfer types that work very similar to a manual requisition, but may be selected instead to indicate a reason for the transfer, including return to vendor, confirmation, administrative, and relocation transfer types. Other transfer types have special processing tied to them. A book transfer is used to move goods from one location to another where there isn't a physical movement of goods. This is normally used for transfers between two viral warehouses within the same physical warehouse, but doesn't have other applications as well. Book transfers are executed and closed as soon as they are approved. Intercompany transfers are used to indicate a transfer between two legal entities for a retailer. The financial application for this type of transfer results in a type of sale from the sending location and a purchase into the receiving location, with the ability to designate a selling price between the entities. Customer order transfers are used to process inventory movement between stores and warehouses related to customer orders. Store requisition and PO link transfers indicate a transfer created out of the replenishment process. For more details on replenishment, see the merchandising replenishment section. Externally generated transfers indicate that a transfer has been initiated in an external system, such as WMS. SIM and AIP generated transfers indicate a transfer created in SIM and AIP respectively that has been interfaced to merchandising. And finally, mass return transfers, which allow you to create transfers from multiple locations to a single warehouse or back to the vendor via an RTV. An RTV transaction moves inventory from a single location back to the supplier for one or more items. Retailers may use RTVs to return damaged or faulty merchandise to a vendor, or they can be used for sending back overstocks at end-of-season items, based on vendor agreements. RTVs can be created either from a store or warehouse location to a single supplier and will include the items, quantities, and cost. The RTV transaction can be created either through the merchandising screens or through an interface from a store or warehouse application. Those created through an external system will be created in a shipping status in merchandising, as it is assumed the goods were already sent to the supplier. Items can be returned to vendor from sellable stock or from unavailable inventory buckets. The same item can be returned from more than one unavailable inventory bucket on the same RTV. Once the RTV is created and approved in merchandising, the goods are seen as reserved inventory. Upon shipment, it is considered closed and the inventory is removed from stock on hand and stock ledger updates are made. Sales and returns information is interfaced to merchandising from an external source, usually sales audit. The merchandising sales processing supports uploading processing once per day or multiple times per day, often referred to as trickle polling. Trickle polling ensures that merchandise has the most recent sales reflected in inventory position in near real time. Sales are also processed against store locations in merchandising. For customer order processing, where the store is a non-physical location, it is assumed that non-stock holding store will be created through which sales are processed. Sales are recorded in merchandising in two ways. The first is sales history, where sales data is held at the SKU, store week level and by sales type, regular, clearance, or promotional. Sales history holds only gross sales, so returns are not recorded. Sales history information is used by merchandising for replenishment and is also interfaced to RPAS solutions for demand forecasting purposes. The other place sales are recorded is in the stock ledger. Sales are recorded in the transactional level stock ledger and then summarized with other inventory data to the subclass location level for different periods. In the stock ledger, sales are not categorized as regular, clearance, or promotion, but returns are recorded. So the stock ledger has a view of both gross and net sale. Additionally, stock ledger records may be written for sales transaction if the price that is included in the file from POS is different than what merchandising is expecting. If the price of the item was sold for less than what merchandising expects, then a markdown is recorded. If it's greater, it is recorded as a markup. Customer orders are sales for merchandise that are not immediately fulfilled when placed. For example, an order placed on a customer's website which is later fulfilled by shipping merchandise to the customer from the retailer's warehouse. A customer in this process could be either an end consumer, or a business customer. Merchandising accepts customer orders sent from an order management system, OMS, and processes them in a different way depending on where the inventory will be sourced and how it will be fulfilled. This slide describes the different fulfillment scenarios that are supported by merchandising. The source location here represents the location where the inventory is held that will fulfill the order. When a source location is not listed, it is assumed that the fulfillment location is also the source location. The fulfillment location is the location where the customer order will be either picked up or shipped to the customer. This functionality supports customer orders placed in the store or from an e-commerce site, mobile, call center, or other similar methods of order capture. If inventory is not available to fulfill a customer order, a back order may be captured based on the expectation of the inventory available in the future. If this occurs, then a notification of the back order being taken against a store or warehouse will be sent to merchandising. Merchandising captures this information and uses it in replenishment process to ensure that recommended order quantities account for this known demand. Additionally, visibility is given to backorder quantities when creating manual transfers. Another key function in customer order processing is the ability to manage returns, which usually occur at a much higher rate for customer order processing than they do in-store sales. Additionally, customers' order returns can occur at both stores and warehouses. Customer order return processing at stores is handled much the same as a return processing. However, return processings at the warehouse are handled a bit differently. It is assumed that all returns that occur at a warehouse will be sent to the merchandising from an OMS and that they will be processed through a non-stocking store, similar to the customer orders shipped from a warehouse. When the return is processed from merchandising, the inventory will be automatically transferred from the virtual store location back to the warehouse where the return was processed. Additionally, when returns are processed in the warehouse, retailers often prefer to have the inventory set aside for further inspection before putting it into an available for sale. Merchandising also supports this with the ability to move inventory to unavailable as a part of the return process. Stock counts are the process by which inventory is counted in a location and compared against the system inventory level or book stock for discrepancies. Merchandising supports two types of stock counts, unit only and unit in value. Unit only counts are performed more frequently and usually on a smaller subset of items in a store or warehouse. The result of this type of count is similar to an inventory adjustment in merchandising. The item location stock on hand is updated and a record is written to the transaction level stock ledger. Unit and value counts are usually done once a year and are sometimes referred to as full physical counts, as they often are for a full location. The result of this type of count also updates the item location stock on hand. However, instead of updating the transaction level stock ledger, the total cost and retail amounts that were determined in the count are used to directly calculate the shrink amount in the stock ledger. Merchandising assumes all counts occur when a location is closed for other transactions, such that a snapshot of inventory can be taken. This snapshot contains the on-hand and in-transit inventory values, as well as the current inventory cost in retail. Once the count is complete, count results are uploaded to merchandising for the comparison to snapshot. On the count results are approved, they are updated to the on-hand quantities. For unit-only quantities, a stock adjustment is also posted to the stock ledger at this point. For unit and value counts, the counts results are also compared to the book value of inventory based on the stock ledger. Any discrepancy in value is posted as shrink in the stock ledger. Inventory adjustments are used to increase or decrease inventory to account for events that occur outside the normal course of business. For example, receipts, sales, stock orders. Inventory adjustments are created in merchandising and imported from an external system, store, or warehouse application. Merchandising supports two types of inventory adjustments: total stock on hand, which adds or removes goods from stock on hand, impacting both perpetual and financial stock ledger inventory. Unavailable inventory, which does not remove goods from owned inventory, so does not impact the value of goods, but does change their status to unavailable. Whenever an inventory adjustment is performed, a reason code must be assigned to the adjustment. Reason codes are retail defined. For retailers who have a franchise business or wish to support other business-to-business ordering and merchandising, merchandising provides functionality to support the setup of the customer, pricing, processing of orders and returns, and billing functions. Franchise customer groups and customers are created and maintained in merchandising, and then their ordering locations are set up as stores linked to the franchise customer. Franchise locations can either be stock holding, if a retailer manages the inventory for their franchise, or non-stock holding. If set up as stock holding, it is assumed that merchandising will manage all inventory transactions for this location, much like a company store, including sales to end customers, stock counts, and inventory adjustments. If non-stock holding, then it is assumed that merchandising won't manage any of these inventory transactions. Because franchise orders are considered a type of sale to a customer, merchandising supports special franchise pricing to determine the sale price of an item for a specific franchise customer location. Franchise pricing is managed for items or groups of items as a percent off retail, using cost components to mark up from supplier cost or fixed costs. These costs are then defaulted onto orders and returns for a particular franchise location. Franchise locations and orders can be created in multiple ways. Manually in merchandising via integration from an external ordering system, or for stock holding franchise locations via merchandising replenishment or integration of orders from Oracle retail applications such as SIM, RWMS, allocation, or advanced inventory planning. Orders can be created for multiple item and customer locations from a single customer and can be sourced from suppliers, warehouses, or company store locations. Once the order is approved, POs and transfers will be created to manage the movement of inventory between locations. Franchise returns can be manually created in merchandising or uploaded from an external ordering system. Returns can be created back to a company store or warehouse. Once the return is approved, transfers will be created to manage the movement of inventory between locations. Finally, when a franchise order is processed, merchandising stages the critical information such as items, locations, cost, quantities for billing purposes. This concludes the merchandising overview on inventory management. As a part of this overview, you should have a better understanding of inventory management, including PO receiving, transfers, RTVs, sales, customer orders, stock counts, inventory adjustment, and franchise management. Thank you for joining this session.